Hi everyone. Today we are going to study another fact-finding technique, that is site visits. Usually during site visits, you must have seen that engineers of the development organization who are developing the projects for a particular client visit the client's sites. So usually when we talk of information systems, it is the system analysts who visit the sites to get the first hand information of the working of the system. So as the name itself says, site visits, that means you are visiting that particular site where the actual task or actual processes take place. Now the system analyst will go and visit those sites for which the system analyst is expected to develop a new information system. So first of all, the system analyst will need to get an idea of how the work actually takes place in that organization. Plus it is one of the many fact finding techniques. So as a way to find facts, to collect data for that particular organization, the system analyst visits the sites of that organization so that he gets a first hand information of how the working takes place in that organization. Now in this technique of site visits, system analyst basically watches the activities of different staff members to learn about the system. Obviously during site visits and during the normal working days of an organization, what the people or the staff members would be doing, they would be doing their routine jobs, they would be doing their regular work. So that is what the system analyst goes there to see. He sees how the routine jobs or the regular duties of the staff are being performed, how they are working in that organization. He gets to have a raw and real first-hand experience of the overall functioning and overall working of the organization by observing and watching different staff members and seeing that how they work in that organization, how they perform their duties in that organization. When there is a confusion about the validity of data collected from other sources, the system analyst uses the method of site visits. Now you know that we have other various techniques also for fact finding. Like in our previous two videos, we have studied personal interviews and group discussions. So those are also some methods to find facts. But then why is site visit needed if we can find or collect facts and data using personal interviews and group discussions? Sometimes during the personal interviews or group discussions, people do not reveal their real self. So in order to confirm the validity of the data which is collected during personal interviews or group discussions or during other such fact finding techniques, in order to confirm how valid that information or data is, sometimes site visits are conducted. So this is a very useful method of finding out the validity of the data collected from other sources. So whenever in doubt, system analyst, in order to confirm the validity of the data collected, performs site visits. The main objective of site visits is to examine the existing system closely and record the activities of the system. When you are about to develop an information system for the particular organization, you need to know about the working of the existing system in that organization. So basically site visits facilitate examining the real working of the existing system very closely, and then those activities and those workings can be recorded by the system analyst. Now what are the advantages of site visits? First of all, the process of recording facts in the site visits is highly reliable. See, you are not trusting a third person or you are not collecting information from a third person. It is first hand information. You do not hear it from someone else, you see it with your own eyes. So nothing can be no data collected can be as reliable as the one collected from site visits. This is the first and very important advantage of any site visit, is that the facts and data that are collected during site visits are highly reliable, and you cannot doubt about the authenticity of the data collected during the site visits, because that is the first hand data collected, which is just seen with your own eyes. So you have to rely on that data, that is highly reliable. Then sometimes the site visits take place to clear doubts and check the validity of data. Like I said, that sometimes while finding facts, while collecting facts during other with the help of other fact finding techniques, you may be in doubt as a system analyst, or a system analyst may have some confusion about the validity of the data that has been collected. So to confirm the validity and to check the validity of the data and to clear all his doubts, what the system analyst can do, he can perform site visits so that he gets to know, okay, this is the exact working scenario of the organization, and whether the data and facts that I collected during other fact finding techniques match this or not. This can be done during the site visits. Then of course site visits is inexpensive when compared to other fact finding techniques. Whether you have to arrange for personal interviews, whether you have to arrange for group discussions, some amount of money is involved. There are expenses involved. But site visit is a very simple technique wherein a system analyst just walks in the organization about which he wants to collect the data. He observes the working of the staff members. That's it, nothing else. So it is very inexpensive as compared to other fact finding techniques. In the site visit, in this technique, system analyst will be able to see the process in the organization as at first hand. That means whatever will be seen there and then with his own eyes, and no third party information is involved here. So obviously he will see the process, whatever processes go in the organization, whatever is the working of the organization, the way the staff performs their duties, that will be seen first hand by the system analyst himself. The system analyst can easily understand the complex processes in the organization. Whatever complex processes are in the organization, they can be better understood if they are seen with your own eyes. See, practically also when you understand things, the concepts that are difficult to understand, they are better understandable when you see them with your own eyes instead of learning them from theory. So in the same way, whatever complex processes take place in the organization, when the system analyst hears it from someone else, understanding them is a little difficult as compared to when the system analyst sees those complex processes happening with his own eyes. So it is better to, the understandability becomes better when such complexes are seen with his own eyes. Now let's look at the disadvantages also, because as I said, everything has its pros and cons. So if site visits have their advantages, they do have their disadvantages also. Now what are the disadvantages? People usually feel uncomfortable when being watched. They may unwillingly perform their work differently when being observed. Quite obvious human psychology or human tendency, people feel uncomfortable when they are watched while doing anything. Right, this must have happened with you also. While you are doing something without being watched, you do it in a better way as compared to when you feel you are being observed or watched. So this is with any person. So people may feel uncomfortable. Obviously, when a system analyst has come for site visit, his sole purpose is to see how people do their work. So if they are being observed while working, they may feel uncomfortable. And in that uncomfort, they may unwillingly perform the work differently when being observed, right? Some people may try to outsmart and they may do the work in a better manner as compared to the other days when they do not perform so efficiently. Some people may become extra cautious or nervous and they may perform less efficiently as compared to the other days when they do their work more efficiently. So people, this may happen unwillingly, that people may perform work differently as compared to the usual days when they are being observed. The second disadvantage is that due to interruption in the task being observed, the information that is collected may be inaccurate. See, you are interrupting while you are doing site visits. You may go to the person, you may stand near the person who is doing the task, or at times you may even ask certain questions. So that does a sort of interruption in the task. that is being observed. So there is a possibility that when you are interrupting in the regular day-to-day routine activities of the staff, the information that is collected may be inaccurate at times. Site visits are done during a specific period. You cannot do site visits all day and 24/7. That is not possible. It is done only during a specific period, and it is possible that during that period complexities existing in the system may not be experienced. You are informed about certain complexities of the system and you decide to do a site visit, but when you do that site visit, at that particular moment of time you do not experience those complexities, because those complexities will not be experienced throughout the day. There are certain hours or certain periods in a day in which those complexities would be experienced, and it is possible that the period during which the system analyst performs site visits, he may not experience the complexities which are existing in the system. So this is one another disadvantage. Now there may be scheduling problems also. See, a site visit needs to be scheduled. The system analyst has to go to a particular geographical location at a particular time. So in that case there can be scheduling problems for the system analyst, especially when the activities of the tasks of the organization take place during odd hours like late night shifts. Sometimes people may be more careful to adopt the exact procedure which they do not typically follow. Now every organization has some procedures and rules and guidelines for performing tasks, but many times it is observed that the staff does not follow those rules and guidelines. But when notified of the fact that today there will be a site visit and they will be observed, they become more cautious and they start following the exact procedures which otherwise they do not follow, right? So this is also one disadvantage. Now let's look at the guidelines for site visits. What are the guidelines for a system analyst to conduct site visits? Site visits are to be conducted where workload is normal, because every time the workload is neither very low nor very high. Usually the workload is normal in all the organizations. It is very rare when the workload is very less or when the workload is very high. So to see the actual working of the organization, the system analyst must conduct site visits at a time when the workload in the organization is normal, neither very low nor very high. After studying the work and the normal workload, system analyst can observe the work at peak hours to see the effect caused by increased volumes. Now once the system analyst knows about what work the organization is doing and when is the normal workload of the organization, the system analyst can then go and do site visit, and he can observe during the entire day the peak hours, because during the entire day the staff does not do work, maximum amount of work at all the times. There are certain peak hours at which the workload is maximum. So it is during the peak hours that the system analyst must observe the work to see what effect is caused by increased volumes, because it is at the peak hours when the volume of work is increased, there is more pressure at the system. So is the system capable to cope with the increased volumes at peak hours? How is the system responding to the increased volume at peak hours? That the system analyst can analyze only when he goes during the peak hours for site visits, and see then how the system is responding to the increased volumes at peak hours. The system analyst should collect the input-output form documents at the time of his or her visit, right? So whenever this system analyst goes for the site visit and observes the working of the organization, he should collect all the input-output forms at that time only, all the documents at that time only, and he should record everything there and then, and should not keep anything for later, because it is a possibility that he may forget certain things observed later. So whatever is being observed must be recorded there and then in the form of input-output forms or documents. Now there are some important guidelines that must be followed at the time of observation and site visit. What are these guidelines? first of all, the system analyst must keep a low profile at the time of site visit. The system analyst must remember that he is not going to the organization to intimidate anyone or to influence anyone. So for that reason, he must keep a low profile at the time of site visit, so that the people working there do not get intimidated or they do not feel influenced by the system analyst, because this would affect their work. The system analyst must take necessary permissions from appropriate officials to conduct site visit. It is not that whenever the system analyst feels like he can just go and perform site visits. He needs to take the necessary permissions from the appropriate officials or authorities of the organization, that I want to perform site visit at this day and during this hour of the day, and then only he can go for a site visit. Inform the individuals who will be observed at the time of the site visit. See, the organization has a large number of people working for them, and it is not possible to observe each and every person working in the organization. There will be few key people who will be observed during the site visit. So whosoever those individuals are, they must be informed in advance about the site visit, and that they will be observed during the site visit. The system analyst must take notes of the study of site visit immediately. Now, whatever facts are collected during the site visit, all those should be recorded or collected there and then, and nothing should be left for later. And the system analyst must not make any assumptions on his own and rely only on the data and facts collected during the site visits. So these are the guidelines that the system analyst must follow during site visits.